Welcome to Anything Cricket. Let's talk. I'm going to pack it. Well, the West Indies men have pulled off an amazing victory over England and became the first holders really of the new trophy, recently minted to, what should I say, that's the symbol of supremacy between the two. So no longer do we have a Wisdom Trophy, and the West Indies, they will have first hold on the new trophy after an exciting 1-0 victory over England. And since then, there has probably been more talk about Joe Root being fired or he should resign. Where will England go from here? I'll be hearing more about the response from the English community than from the Caribbean community, gentlemen. But we've got a chance now to chat about that victory over England yet again, because it's not the first time that we've defeated England up here, despite the many decades that we've been struggling. Gentlemen, congratulations to Craig Graphic and his men.
Philip, the situation where you are hearing more from the English than from the West Indies may have something to do with the fact that we in the Caribbean were not prepared, permitted, for whatever reason, to mount a commentary team with a Caribbean flavor. It is the first time that I have seen particularly an important series like an England West Indies series go ahead with no West Indian presence as far as radio commentary is concerned, because I still maintain that part of, again, I am going to use this word culture again, part of the cricket culture in the Caribbean is cricket on the radio. And this goes way back. This goes back to the days when people used to walk around in the Caribbean, not just in Barbados, with a transistor to their ears. And as you walk around, every other person you meet, they ask you, where's the score? And you have to tell everybody as you move around the score. I mean, this is where it started when I started to follow cricket in the late 60s. Radio commentary is part and parcel of Caribbean cricket. And when you have a test series as important as the iconic series with England and the West Indies and no Caribbean presence, it's obvious you're going to be just to hear the English perspective because that is what we were fed with, Philip.
Yes, I mean, and I remember the days too when you would have had an exciting finish in a cricket match, whether it be regional cricket or international cricket, and there's gridlock in the city because nobody wants to move with five
It's a
balls to go,
standstill.
7 runs
Everything
to win
comes
to
to a
win the match.
standstill.
I remember
Yeah,
a famous match in Guyana. Wasn't it in Guyana? It was a one-day final, and I remember
that was Jamaica.
that was Jamaica. Yeah, you're playing Jamaica.
And not only was it Jamaica, what makes it, but remember the time difference between Barbados and Jamaica.
Yeah,
So
our
it was dark in Barbados.
Yes, it was. Yes, yes,
The sun had set in Barbados.
yeah.
yes.
And without a curfew, the traffic had stopped moving.
The traffic stopped moving, as you said, gridlock.
Yeah.
Because wait, so like I said, that is I took that very seriously, and I want to upbraid whoever it is that whether it be the radio stations, whether it be the Caribbean, the West Indies cricket machinery, whoever the sponsors, whoever it was that was responsible for that, I think they need to be reprimanded. Reprehensible. That was reprehensible behavior. We cannot have it, and I hope that it doesn't ever happen again.
Well, I hope you're not waiting for an argument from me.
I don't think
No,
anybody thinking West
I was
Indian
just
will
putting.
argue with that.
I was just trying to put a spin on the fact that you mentioned
Yeah.
that we heard more about the English than we heard about the West Indies, and I think that it may very well have something to do with the
Well, you
fact
probably hit
that
the nail on the head there.
the
That's certainly one.
platform wasn't there for a West Indian perspective.
And then the other thing too is that in terms of online, there's a lot of online stuff going on now. And whenever you pick up, you go on an online platform, most of what you're seeing here is coming from
Yeah.
British media, so to speak.
Look,
I don't know I don't know how many programs of this nature that are created and developed within the region, but somehow the ones that seem to attract the most attention are those coming from elsewhere, and that's what we can tell.
Maybe that is an avenue for anything cricket. Let's talk. Maybe to fill the void
It
next time.
may also be a question of what people, in some cases, prefer to watch.
yeah. Phil, I think this thing goes very deep, though. I think we got to look at it from a lot of perspective. Cricket is an industry these days. And part of those industries, you have youngsters coming through the system who will aspire to be cricketers, yes, but they should also aspire to be umpires, to be cricket coaches, to be commentators, to be in the media around cricket. All of those are industries spawned from cricket itself. And so we are denying West Indians the opportunity to get into this field if we are going to make it the exclusive playground of people from foreign lands. Now, in recent times, I have to tell you, I had really started to enjoy hearing Mali Richards, the son of the great Sir Vivian Richards, as a new voice in commentary. If we stunt voices like those, where are we going? What is there for a young aspiring West Indian cricketer to aspire to? If I hear my own people talking about my game, the perspective must be different than if I hear someone from England talking about my game. And it's good to have both voices so we get two perspectives. It is just something that should never happen again. I agree with you 100%.
Gentlemen, please do not let us spend this precious time on this one. You all have done a good job. Let us praise the West Indies cricket. First of all, I am going to praise the captaincy of Craig Brathwaite, his batting, the way how he handled his team in all 3 test matches. Because we've already spoken about the Antigua test match. We have spoken about the Barbados test match. But this one on there in Grenada, Craig Brathwaite really shone. It is clear that Craig loves the captain. There is no doubt about it. He performs as a captain. If there's something called leadership from the front, he shows you leadership from the front. And Craig batted well, and he used his bowlers, because remember, from the first test match, I was saying that he had difficulty with too many bowlers. But he was still able to give each bowler a good run, including Mears in that last test match. I mean, when Mears came into bowl, well, no one tells the future, but Mears came and put the ball on a dime. I compliment the batting and the bowling and the fielding of the team. The team played exceptionally well, and I say kudos to them.
Harley, you said no one knows the future, and you're quite right. Sometimes you make calls on this show and other places that you gain by yourself. In my case, I'm probably wrong most of the time with my calls anyway. But if you were here for the last show, I know you can make it last show. We had Anmar with your voice on. And I think Anmar, again, and myself, we all agree that there should be room somehow for pioneers in the team. And we looked at various scenarios how we could get into it. I made the point that in terms of strike rate, and if I gave the stats at one point, his stats in terms of strike rate, in other words, how often he picks up a wicket, his average, and I compared it to Joseph. Now, the difficulty there is that Joseph has played a number of matches more than but he can only judge the player what he's done. And therefore, up to the point that Mears had performed as a bowler, or Jansen had to bowl up to that point, which is prior to the Grenada test, his numbers suggested to me that this is not just a bowler who will pick up the ball as the captain does sometimes, in the hope of getting the odd breakthrough or maybe the other bowlers the rest. Not only that, I've been watching Calmeers play cricket for longer than I care to remember. And therefore, I'm aware of what Calmeers can do with bat, ball, and anything else on the cricket field. So what Calmeers did in the third test match was no surprise to me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I expected Calmeers to get 5 wickets. I expected that Calmeers coming into the West Indies side, if given the opportunity, could play a meaningful role as one of the seniors. Sometimes that would get you 5 wickets, sometimes it may get you none. But I expected that he would be able to play a meaningful role. And he did that. He's not going to get 5 wickets every game. But it's another example for me of how sometimes some of us like to put people in a little box and say, you stay in there, that's all you can do.
But you see, if you do not know a person, Philip, you would tend to put them in the wrong box. Fortunately enough, for me, I had the honor of being his manager back in 2014 when Calmeers single-handedly almost defeated Trinidad and Tobago. And had not for the captain, Aaron, the captain took him off when he had gone through 6 of the Trinidadians. So we all know, but he also had that horrendous injury to his leg. And that really slowed him down. But he was bored. He was swinging at pace. He used to swing the ball at pace. So now that he is back to fitness, he has lost the pace that he had. But now he has now substituted that pace with accuracy. And boy, is he accurate. He is accurate. So yes, I am happy that you all would have called for him after the Barbados test. And I'm even happier that his Desmond Hayes clubman, who is now the chairman, selected, decided that he had to play. Because there is no way that Calmeers can be left out. Calmeers cannot be left out of a West Indies 11. Cannot be.
Well, I don't know if we want to continue on specifically on the Calmeers situation, but I want to go back to the last show that we had concerning the preview to the test match, Philip, and I remind you that I got a wish come true. Okay. You know, we were talking about the series being locked 1-1 and how we were to get the team separated. Right. And I remember specifically asking for a collapse. I thought that the series needed a batting collapse, and the Englishman duly obliged in both of their innings. As a matter of fact, I got 2 for the price of 1.
In the last probably 5-6 series I think English have played, when have they not given us a collapse at some point?
I guess when we realized that something was wrong when we completed 2 test matches and there was no collapse.
And the English
I see. Okay, fair enough.
So yes.
So I tell you something, right? Here was the most pleasant surprise I got from that series. Perhaps not so much of a surprise, but what I liked from that series. We ourselves, as you know, in recent years have had the odd collapse here and there in our batting. And there's a little trend starting to grow here, and it really was very evident in this series. We're now beginning to get this tenacity, this fight, because I can live with West Indies teams losing. I can't live with West Indies teams surrendering. And it was good to see in the first 2 test matches. You have to give England credit; they batted well and they batted themselves into good, strong positions. And each time we were faced with the prospect of batting well on days 4 or 5 or both, or losing the game, and we rose to the challenge. We found the right player at the right time each time, and we hung in there for long periods. And you could see the frustration growing in the England team at how we were able to dig in our heels and hang in there. And it was good to see a player like Jermaine Blackwood, who everyone knows is given to throwing the bat at the ball every now and then, really dig his heels in and score a patient century. A century, yes, but a patient century is something you do not associate with Blackwood.
No, I was referring to when you said that he was given to throwing the bat at the ball every now and then. So I'm saying
perhaps a little bit often than that.
More no than then.
Yes. No, but it's good to see these things happening. Now, on the other side of the coin, I have to say, we went into that series needing to settle the issue of a good opening partner for Craig Brathwaite. We went into that series needing to have a good, reliable number 3 batsman who we haven't been able to find for some time. And I'm a little concerned that we've come out of the series with those same 2 problems. And we've been struggling with these 2 issues now for the last 4 years, 5 years.
Just to make sure I heard you correctly. Open batsman, what was the other?
Number three that is reliable.
Okay, number 3.
Because we have also struggled. We keep talking about open batsmen. We don't talk about number 3, but we haven't had anyone since Darren Bravo was performing well there to come and grab that position and say, I'm here, I'm going to make runs at this position. And I'm a little concerned that we still haven't settled it, and I'm not seeing the answer on the horizon. So I think it's something that the West Indies Cricket Board has to pay some serious attention to. And you know what baffles me? Why is it that at the territorial level we don't see these things? Where if I were running cricket in any territory, I'd say, look, there are 2 spots in the West Indies cricket team here that need to be filled. We should be grooming someone from my territory to fill it. And if all 5 territories did that, we'd be in a wonderful position where we would have some emerging players coming from everywhere.
Well, this is why I said in the earlier program, I think I actually said it on camera. It certainly was a view that it was put forward. As it related to the opening position, and I felt that Barbados, for example, may have missed the trick. Look, there's no one right way, and there usually many right ways, and there's usually a whole bunch of wrong things you can also do. But I felt it was worthwhile. I'm moving the captain, Brathwaite, the Barbados captain and West Indies captain, from number 1 position to number 3. I could be wrong, and Brathwaite would probably have the final say on it because he's the one doing it. But I believe that he is probably open batting in first class and international cricket. That I didn't think that a move like that would make him less effective having to open for the West Indies. Of course, I could be wrong, but I felt it was worth having him back at 3 since his position in the West Indies team was a show, and exposing 2 opening batsmen from, and this is from the Barbados perspective, nothing to stop other franchises from doing the same thing or similar thing. And I would have gone with Mosley and another. And I say Mosley and another because I don't really think that the Barbados selectors at this time should be the ones to say Mosley or international career. I think that he still should have the opportunity for the remainder of this season to have the opportunity to try to make a comeback at the international level. But Mosley and another. And that was my position where that was concerned. So it kind of fits in with what you were saying about the number 3 position. But I'll tell you what, though. You'll recall that Nkrumah Bonner did very well in Bangladesh, batting somewhere around at 4. And then he came back to the Caribbean, and with Bravo not inside and Mosley dropped, he batted at 3. He scored a century there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, against Sri Lanka.
I saw no reason to move him from 3 because you're going to bring Shamar Brooks inside. You see, I'm looking at stability. Bonner has done enough over the 10, 12 test matches he played that I really don't see Bonner being in danger of losing his play in the immediate or short-term future, if you get where I'm coming from. So, but Brooks is pretty much on trial, coming back into the side, and has never really dominated since being in the West Indies side, averaging around 29 points. So I would have gone for Bonner at number 3. With a more long-term perspective there, and let Brooks have his trial maybe at number 4, so that if Brooks comes off, beautiful. If he doesn't, you still got your 1, 2, and 3. Well, at least 1 and 3 that you don't have to worry about. That's how I would have dealt with it. But it's not.
But listen,
yeah, go ahead, Hartley.
Listen, what I took away from this series was to debunk the theory and the arguments that were being advanced by radio commentators, very popular ones, that our men were batting too slow. And that we don't understand that you must hit the ball here and there. Test cricket is 15 sessions in 5 days of 2 hours each. And Craig Brathwaite showed us, and Bonner has shown us, and the batsmen now, Jason Holder, when he had the time, Blackwood. Test cricket is a test of your skill and ability. And you have to bat long. We have batted long, and even in this series, we were hearing people saying about how they're batting too slow. And all I kept saying, but what are they saying? We batted, they were calling for batting too slow in Antigua and in Barbados. And as it was said here again earlier, not too long ago, we were fighting on the 4th day, 8th day, and into the 5th day to save the match. You don't bat too slow in Test cricket. What you do not get beaten by batting too quickly. And that is what I...
You just raised a very important thing there by talking about. I remember years ago, now you're feeling back too slowly here. I remember some years ago when Brian Lara scored a couple of centuries against, I think it was Australia. And we able to help me here. Somebody can help me. I think, what was it? We lost the first test. We won the second, won the third, and then in the 4th test, I think Lara scored a century. And I wasn't wrong in the Caribbean.
Quick fire 100 at Antigua.
Yeah, I was in the Caribbean, and that's maybe why I didn't see much of this, because I was elsewhere.
And we lost that game.
A quick fire 100 at
And
Antigua.
since then, you don't know how often I've heard that we lost the game because Bar back too quick. I have to ask myself sometimes what people really want, because there was Lara batted too quickly and we lost. These guys batted slowly and we were able to draw, and people still upset. So I really don't know what fans want sometimes. But I'll tell you this, the other thing though, Hartley, in response to what you were saying there about 5 days, I have heard from the mouth of cricketers. I'm not saying cricketers, maybe they're all cricketers, but I'm talking about professional cricketers who have played international T20 cricket. And I've heard them say that very often, and this is from a batting perspective, the chasing run or whatever, and very often I've heard them say that you'll have more time than you realize.
Yeah, what?
You have more time than you realize.
Yes.
And if I can go with an example, if you reflect on Marlon Samuels in the 2 finals that he won the Man of the Match award in the World Cup, in both those innings, he started very slowly.
Yes, he did.
He never panicked. Started slowly. But he was there when crunch time came. And in the first one, he almost took the life of Malinga. And in the second one, he was there with Prophet, who almost took the life of Ben Stokes.
Yeah.
If you have more time than you realize sometimes in a T20 game, how could you be backing too slowly in a test match where you barely hold on to save the game anyway?
Well, let me put it this way. We didn't bat any differently in the last test than we were batting all along. We didn't bat particularly quickly.
On 1 or 2 days.
Thank you. That was you've made my point I was trying to make. So the idea was to win the test match, and clearly we had enough time to do that. Cricket is always an equation between runs and time. And in the first 2 tests, time was important in that we could have batted faster and been bowled out and lost those 2 test matches. What we did was we batted long enough to get to the end of the match and draw, and keep the series alive for that last test when we played really good cricket and won it. And I'll tell you something else. The West Indies in recent times, our bowling is getting better, and we're not conceding as many large totals as we were doing at one point. And so if you are not conceding these huge totals, then there's a lot of time in the game. It's an equation between runs and time. So if we're bowling out teams for 300 runs, then that usually it means they're not batting much more than a day. So if we bowl a team in 4 sessions, as Hartley pointed out, we got 11 left. There's a lot of time left in the match, and sometimes.
I've gone to the US more times than I can count.
Yes.
I've gone to baseball. I've attempted to go to basketball. I've never gone anywhere near hockey, ice hockey, and I've never even asked where they play, because ice hockey is not for me. Test cricket is not for everybody.
Yeah, agreed.
The problem is when you don't realize that something isn't for you.
Yeah, well said. And you know what? These days you have T20 and you have one-day cricket for people who prefer a faster game.
But that is the problem. We have too many persons now who are given the opportunity to make their pronouncements and their mouthings over the air, who actually believe that they understand cricket, But they cannot break down the cricket. They cannot analyze the cricket. So they do not understand the amount of minutes there are in cricket. And listen, it is a serious thing when it has always been said, I don't think anybody has disputed it yet. You cannot win a test match on the first day, but you sure can lose it.
Yes, you can.
And that is what happened to England and that's this last test. They lost it on the first day.
Correct. I'll tell you something else though. There's an interesting trend coming up in world cricket that I've been noticing. Because of this emergence of T20 cricket, I've noticed that a lot of, and it's not only happened to the West Indies, it was primarily a problem here at one point, but now I'm seeing it happening more in other countries. When you have a young player with immense talent able to bat very quickly, a lot of them are now gravitating towards the T20 game and not playing Test cricket. And what that means is that the players who end up playing Test cricket are the kind of players who will be a little more staid, who will be a little more measured, and who will spend more time at the crease without necessarily playing swashbuckling innings. And it's not only happening in the Caribbean.
That's why we like Barbados so much.
But no, this is a serious thing. If you look around at the players we've produced in recent times, you have Poran, who basically has been a short form cricket specialist all of his career. He's never really ventured much into the longer form of the game. You have
Hetmar.
Well, I'm not talking about all-rounder from Jamaica who's batting really well now. What's his name?
Oh, Smith?
Robert Powell. Robert Powell has pretty much now migrated to a short form cricket. I don't see him playing 4-day cricket. And part of the problem, I think, is this. A lot of the times when you see the regional 4-day tournament is on, there's usually a choice to be made between playing for that 4-day tournament where you might get $1,500 match fee, or going to play a T20 tournament somewhere where you could get $100,000.
Deighton, it gets even worse. It gets even worse. I know a number of West Indies players who have been forced to miss the regional competitions because of doing West Indies duties.
Correct.
And not necessarily playing Test cricket.
Correct.
Playing white ball limited overs.
Yeah.
So it gets even worse. It is something promoted by the West Indies itself. Check out a guy like a Shea Hope. I don't think Shea Hope has ever refused to play 4-day cricket for Barbados.
But he hasn't played since 2017 though.
But he was representing the West Indies every time.
Of course he has.
He wasn't playing any franchise.
I am not apportioning any blame to Shea. I'm just saying that's how it has panned out.
So that's why I'm so it gets even worse.
And the same thing is not happening to Russell Chase.
When that was the next name I was going to call.
Yeah. So it is something that those who run the game worldwide, not only in Barbados, not only in the West Indies, have got to take a very serious look at.
It is something that the journalists in England have complained about, the negligence of the red ball game, in preference. All right, and they're having the same situation. So it's really something that transcends a broader spectrum.
It's difficult to solve though. I mean, you mentioned Russell Chase just now, and Russell Chase and Hope, they were on tour in India, playing in the T20 games, and there were 1-day games as well. And Shamar Brooks, who was not part of the T20 setup there, came back and played one match for Barbados franchise before.
So did Bonner. No, not Bonner. Blackwood it was. Yeah,
no, Bonner played for Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because they were not part of the T20 setup. But Chase was part of the T20 setup. So there's no way that he would have had time to come back and play any matches
exactly
he wanted to.
Yes.
Let's just say he wanted. I would hope he wanted. He did not have that option then of coming back to play.
Right. He did not.
Others
He did not.
For any test free. Others
Kyle Mears is an example.
Right. Would not have had time. Now, okay. If you decide not to play Chase based on his previous record, you have the option as selectors, and that's not the issue here. We've already discussed the team and all that, so I'm not going to revisit that. So you pick your 11 and Chase is not in it. Mears is in the squad. That's not the issue. But there was a decision made not to play any more serious cricket until May.
Yeah, I couldn't
And
understand that.
even if you decided not to play the tournament for whatever reason until May, the cricket essence is so broke that you could not have, let's say, even if you pick the best available players who were, let's say in Trinidad, for example, because that seems to be the favorite place to do anything, and get some guys, and in other words, get quality opposition, a kind of a best versus best, but of course without the 15, 16, 17, or whatever number of players for the test squad, and play some matches. Because it's not first class status, but they're good players playing against good players. And therefore,
Yeah.
if you run into, I mean, let's look at the last game, for example, where you had Campbell and Brooks who came into that last game and you wondered if they would be selected. Really and truly, it didn't make much point not selecting them because who were you going to put to replace them? Somebody who was sitting down looking at the stars for the previous two, you know? So what I'm saying is that you have these challenges of a lot of cricket being played in white ball, sometimes in Friday or some of your red ball players as well. But there are things, to my mind, that you can do to minimize the fallout from that. And I don't think they're doing enough. And it's always the same thing about money. I don't know. I'm not, you were there, Deighton. You were on the Barbados board. You were. It's going to take that much to organize 22 players and a couple of reserves to get some Trinidadians and some Bajans in a match this weekend somewhere, and then maybe get some Guyanese and some other. Is that hard?
I've been making the point for a long time that we have to do that. Very much for the reasons you've outlined. A lot of times our players are tied up representing our international team and therefore don't have the opportunity sometimes to get themselves prepared for Test cricket. If we can give them quality games to help get them back into the mode of playing that kind of cricket, then that is something that is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. But there's something else I think we got to accept that I don't think we've all accepted. If we look at Sir Garfield Sobers, and the time he played cricket, he'd probably play 2 test series in a year, and that would be a lot. Nowadays, there are more test playing nations than by a long way than there were then. And so when you have a T20 schedule, an ODI schedule, and a test cricket schedule, let's be very clear, that is a hell of a lot of cricket for the people who play 3 formats. And then they have the right to go there and earn some money in a T20 league that may earn them more money than they're earning for the West Indies. The reality of that is this: all of them cannot coexist in a perfect union. The reality is that players have to make some choices. And I think that's why you see some players are saying, okay, I'm going to play short form cricket. And those players have no scheduling issues. They play T20 leagues all over the world, they play one-day cricket, and that's it. Their year is taken up. When you add test cricket to that mix, something does not fit. And we might think there's a simple solution, but I don't think you can schedule it well enough to avoid all of the clashes.
I think you don't have to schedule it because you just identified the issue. Those who want to play the short version, let them play. Those that because what I have always contend, I think each and every one of you has said the same thing. Your test cricketer should also be playing the ODIs, the 50 over.
Yeah, we need people who can bat longer in ODIs. We have T20 players playing ODI and we're batting 30 overs.
So if you have section off the T20 player, and if the chapter who you have also want to give a 3 format, and he is not doing very well, he doing good in the 3 format, but he ain't doing good in the ODIs and the test, drop him and keep it in the ODI, in the T20. But for sure, it is an insult and a travesty that Craig Brathwaite is only playing test cricket. I mean, how is he maintaining that high level of performance, only playing 3 test matches, a tour, something only 2? It is not easy. But if he were to play the ODIs and the tests, he would have a crossover with both of them. And to me, it is not as difficult as it appears.
And the thing about it, Harley, somebody will say to you that he played before and didn't do well, which is true, but just a handful of games. And somebody will say to you that, you know, you've got people to do that, he bats too slowly if you're going to send him now into the one-day international certificate game. But there are two things there that such a person would not be considering. One, that the exposure in one-day international cricket would probably help him to be even more positive in test cricket. Because it's not a matter that you want him to hit 4s and 6s, but you may want him maybe to face fewer dot balls. And therefore, the exposure and the pressure of the one-days may very well help him to develop that aspect of his game. The other side of it is, who are the guys currently playing in the one-day international who are performing to such an extent
Better.
that you were saying that Craig Bradford can be an asset? Yeah.
But Craig just came out. Craig just came out in that last going up at 28 runs. And who was scoring quicker than him? Craig, if Craig wants to, he can score quickly. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I wanted to pursue an earlier discussion concerning the point that Deighton made about the crisis at the top of the order. You know, the opening batsman and the number 3. I mean, we've had this discussion on this show before, and you know, it puzzled me that the West Indies has this somewhere among our people this idea that there's something called a specialist number 3. You know, and about opening batsmen and I promote the view that when I am picking a cricket team, if I want 6 batsmen, I pick my 6 best batsmen. It is up to me to send them in the order that I think is best to best utilize them. So we have this policy that if a guy is batting at number 5 and he makes some runs, but the guy who is playing at number 5 for the West Indies is also making runs, he can't get a play. But the guy who is batting at number 3 and making a run, you know.
Yeah, but they play.
But the guy at number 3 and making a run. But you know what happened?
Yeah.
This guy that making runs at number 5 is not enough. He's a number 5 batsman, and his player has been taken.
Well
you know,
said.
I want to ask a question to the panel though. Yes, the West Indies won the series, and I didn't even get a chance to congratulate the team, the management, the likes. I thought that they deservedly won the series. I remember using a boxing analogy at the end of the second test, whereby I was saying that if it were a boxing match, England would have been leading on points.
Yes.
What I didn't realize is that the West Indies were playing a tactic. The West Indies were using the rope-a-dope tactic.
Rope-a-dope, yes.
And allowing the Englishmen to punch themselves out. And when the Englishmen punched themselves out, West Indies counter-punch and knocked them out. If let's say we said we had 3 test matches, 15 days of cricket, 15 rounds of boxing. England dominated the first 10. By the beginning of the 14th round, England were flat out on their back.
Yeah.
West Indies kept coming back. So yes, congratulations to the West Indies. But the question I'm asking, we went into this series knowing, and we all know, there's a crisis in quality of batsmanship in the Caribbean. That victory doesn't take away well, I'm going to ask, have we seen anything coming out of this series that suggests that maybe we're beginning to see some light and a better quality of batsmen, or would that be that sample will be too small a sample?
Well, I started this whole discussion by saying we went into this series trying to solve the problem of numbers 2 and 3, and we still haven't solved it. So that answers your question. We have been struggling for a long time to find quality batsmen. And we haven't solved it. And I think part of it is a territorial issue, because I find it hard to understand why we have coaching setups in every territory, and every year the same batsmen come back and underperform over and over and over again. What are we doing from a coaching and development perspective? Why are we not seeing it? And I don't think it's just a Cricket West Indies issue. I think that's a territorial issue. All of the territorial boards have to look themselves in the mirror and say, why haven't my players moved on? Now, they'll tell you that some have, but from a batting perspective, I don't see a young West Indies player putting his hand up and saying, I am scoring runs every time I go to the crease.
But listen, I am happy that you have recognized, because I am seeing like at the end of the tunnel where it comes to the batting. My problem, gentlemen, is that we have not addressed the issue of the wicket keeper. We have to get a wicket keeper. I loved what De Silva did, that 100, or he batted well. We cannot take anything away from him. He batted exceptionally well, purposefully. He did what the team wanted to do as a batsman. But what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to allow him to embarrass himself behind the stumps? We have to address the issue. We have to bring Shane Dowich back into the squad and find a place for that young man to bat in the batting order. Even if it means dropping Hope. I mean, dropping, what's his name? My man from Spartan. Brooks.
What? Any other candidates for again? Haven't we got a crisis in wicket keepers too, or don't we?
No.
I thought Hartley was onto something when he said, you know, I think maybe there's some spiritual thing, issue controlling his tongue when he said Sheho. It was by accident, but really and truly, it might have been accident. Because I actually think that is an option that we looked at. I suggested that at a press conference some time ago. I was told by the coach that Hope has an issue with his knees and doesn't want to keep it for their games.
Although I don't necessarily wholeheartedly agree with Hartley regarding the situation with De Silva and Dowich. To be honest with you, I'm still looking for the wicketkeeper for the West Indies. I'm looking for a wicketkeeper. In the meantime, De Silva has the job. He's the incumbent, and I really don't see him being threatened at this point in time. And that was before he scored the 100. You know, now that he has scored the 100.
But when you were a wicketkeeper, I ain't saying that about his batting. You were a wicketkeeper. You saw what he did behind the stuff, or what he didn't do.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying. That is why I'm saying.
I think you guys go down two different roads. Hartley is saying, Wayne, that De Silva must maintain his place as a batsman, but he thinks somebody else should do the job of wicketkeeping. So his place in the side is not what Hartley is suggesting is under threat. It is his role as a wicketkeeper. So I don't know if you misunderstood that.
That is why. No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But my point is, I'm saying, at the moment, De Silva is the wicketkeeper. I'm looking for a wicketkeeper, but I haven't seen anybody up to this stage who is going to push De Silva out of his position.
No, man, I can't agree with you because he did not push anybody out of the West Indies team. De Silva cannot be deemed among the 6 best wicketkeepers in the region. He cannot. I can find you 3 wicketkeepers in Barbados who is better than him.
But of course, you know, there have been many times that the best wicketkeeper in the region never played for the West Indies. Because it wasn't a wicketkeeper per se that we were looking for. We were looking for.
I called Desmond Lewis, man. You remember him?
Yes.
Desmond Lewis played a handful of test matches, could be like 340 more. So I don't think he made 4. And in there, he made an 88 not out or something. He batted well, and he looked good too. I like to see Desmond Lewis bat. But he didn't last. Wait, Deighton. Tell Wayne why he didn't last.
Well,
he didn't have a keeper. He was not a wicketkeeper.
Yeah, they were not happy with his wicketkeeper.
Yes, he didn't. But here's the thing.
And did he score
in the modern game?
But wait, before we get to this Desmond Lewis thing, did he score the amount of runs that would have kept him in a West Indies team?
Well, I'm going to give you a few seconds and I'll tell you.
Here's the thing, right? Desmond Lewis never scored prolifically, but here's the thing. In a modern game, nobody plays a wicketkeeper purely on his ability to do the job behind the stumps. Modern cricket demands that a wicketkeeper must do a job with the bat. So it's hard to separate two things. You have to be on balance when you weigh them both up to say this guy is best or he isn't. Now here's the facts. De Silva came in the team. He hasn't done a lot wrong. Now he might not always look tidy, but I can't recall a lot of chances that he's given people behind the stumps. He might drop balls when you would like him not to, but I'm talking about dropping catches as opposed to dropping balls.
No, Deighton. He cannot keep it down the leg side. He cannot collect the ball down the leg side.
Hartley
stands in his stance and dives.
Hartley, he's not the only way in West Indies who does that. But all I'm saying to you is this: if you're asking me, is he a purist? The answer is no. I'm saying since he's coming to the West Indies team, I don't recall him dropping a lot of catches.
You're not watching the cricket then.
Well, you must remind me of the ones that I missed. What I can tell you is that he took a brilliant catch in this match.
But to answer this question about Desmond
Lewis.
Right, he played.
I know the answer already, Philip. I didn't even ask you. Is after all of that?
Our viewers may not know. Our viewers don't know, and you may have given them the wrong impression.
That question was facetious, Philip.
Please tell me, Philip. Please tell me.
He scored 259 runs with a highest score of 88. 350s in the 3 matches and an average of 86.33. And just to show you that it was no, he played 36 first-class matches and he had 12 half centuries in those matches. So the guy knew a thing or two about batting, but obviously it was his wicket keeping that caused him.
But you tell me the person who is going. When you look at the players and the value they bring to the team, who is the person that's going to put Josh De Silva from behind the West Indies wickets right now? Who is that person when you look at the value
I just called Shane Dowrick. And you know what's going to happen, man? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Because he redeemed himself in the last test match because he was atrocious behind the stumps, but he made a century. What is going to happen then when he continues to be atrocious behind the stumps and he does not make a century? What is going to happen then?
Well, hey guys, don't fight. But
the use of that word is atrocious, though.
I think that's extreme.
He said,
that's extreme.
I heard him on the mic saying, I am the worst wicketkeeper in the world.
No, that's not true, Hardy. He said the universe.
He said the universe?
Yeah. But anyhow, the point is, guys, have you ever heard of a guy called Deepak Patel? Anybody ever heard of Deepak?
Yes, I've heard the name. Yes.
You ever heard of a fellow called Lee German?
No. Yes. Lee German, New Zealand.
Have you ever heard of Steve Smith? Of course, the answer is yes. And you may have heard of a fellow called Mark Richardson.
Yes,
Mark Richardson. Those guys are New Zealanders. New Zealand is now on top of world cricket in terms of the championship that has been designed for Test.
Yeah.
Champion.
New Zealand, if you think about it, can you ever remember an era that New Zealand has been poor? I mean, everybody just beat them left, right, and center. I don't. All right. There were many years they didn't dominate, but they're always competitive, and the fielding has always been good. They've also been one of the most innovative.
Best wicket keepers too.
They're the ones who introduced the whole concept of a spin bowler opening the bowling when Deepak Patel.
Yes, correct.
Deepak Patel. Yes.
They're the ones who threw the whole notion of the captain must be the best player through the window when they were having some challenges. Took the gloves from Adam Perore and made him open the batting and brought in Lee German, who they deemed based on his first-class performances as a good captain. Mark Richardson started cricket as a left-arm spinner. Y'all tell me a number 3 batsman can't convert to an opener. This man started as a left-arm spinner, converted to a batsman, opened the batting, and with an average of 44, he still remains one of the most successful opening batsmen New Zealand ever had. And of course, we know the story of Steve Smith, the leg spinner who turned best batsman.
Yes.
You guys telling me that a number 3 or 4 can't open the batting and that Ross Sanchez can't play as a spinner unless he's scored it.
I would never say that. I think
we remain at the bottom, gentlemen, because we have no vision.
Yeah.
I really want to know how we get here. I still want the answer to my question.
In response to the whole idea, or Deighton said something about the number 2 and number 3 position not settled, and then you yourself said that you picked your 6 best batsmen. So I was taking that a step further by showing that the mentality of West Indies cricket. Now, not only the selectors and the board, the fans even more so, I find. Okay, the mentality, because there are many fans that will have picked. I saw the chats and all sorts of people cussing Braffett because Mayor's bowled before this body, bowled before the next body. So I can't say that Braffett is limited in the stall because Braffett threw the ball to Mayor's, right? But most people didn't agree with it. And you got to be innovative sometimes. You can't just do something by the book and because of titles.
Man, your statement is going to come back to haunt you. And I am going to remind you.
Not the first time. Not for the first time.
It's going to haunt you. I am going to be like
Jack. Not for the first time.
I am going to be like Barnabas.
Fortunately for me, I'm not afraid of the dark.
No, but Harley, but very seriously, especially with you, right?
Yeah.
I am a fan of Shane Dowrich, always have been, right? But I've never been one that had this idea, unless you are Sir Garfield Sobers or Vic Richards, that you have time out from the game and you come back, and I expect that you will come back at the same level you went out. I think I made sure I was at Keswick Oval to see Shane Dowrich when he came back, and I was very pleased with what I saw. But Shane had a long time out from the game, and he's played 2 matches. I think you have a who is in the team. As I said to you, I don't recall him dropping a lot of catches. I'm not talking about balls on the leg side that didn't touch anything.
Catches down the leg side. Catches down the leg side.
All right. All I'm saying is that I wouldn't just jump up and say Shane is back, he has to go. I think there's a process for these things, and Shane is good enough to keep performing, and his time will come.
But what you are saying,
what I'm saying though is that, like I said, I am looking for the West Indies wicketkeeper. I am looking for a wicketkeeper who is better than De Silva.
Yes.
But up to this point, I do not see a player who brings more value to the team than De Silva. That's the point that I am making.
So what was Shane Dowrich doing before De Silva came to the team? He wasn't bringing value.
Fantastic. He was doing very well.
So can he be better than De Silva?
Relax, man. Wayne has this thing about.
But what I'm saying is that De Silva does not automatically. I mean, Shane Dowrich, as Deighton pointed out earlier, Shane Dowrich does not automatically walk back in the West Indies team.
Why not?
Shane Dowrich must earn a play back in the West Indies
but
team.
But when De Silva was given his play, he didn't earn it. When De Silva, I want you all to remember, when De Silva was selected,
he was given it by Shane Dowrich. Shane Dowrich handed the play to De Silva. You remember? Shane Dowrich left New Zealand as
but we had Devin Walker. We had Devin Walker.
I asked the West Indies cricket board to put him on a plane and send him back to the West Indies. He handed the play to De Silva. And he has to, as far as I'm concerned, he has to earn his play back in the West Indies team.
Did we have better wicketkeepers in the region playing regional cricket at the time when De Silva was given the play?
But they were not in New Zealand.
Oh Lord, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy.
De Silva was in New Zealand. Only De Silva was in New Zealand.
Okay, guys.
Fair enough. Fair
okay,
enough.
But
I
still think Deighton though that our two colleagues are not really arguing about different things, but are sticking to one perspective of it. Because I see value in what both of them are saying. I agree totally with Wayne that Dowrich has to earn his play back. I agree totally with Hartley that the keeping of Smith is well below what is required. Even
of De Silva.
Is well below what is required. And even he, I believe, knows that. I mean, you have to if he watches the videos himself and he's honest. And I think he seems to be very honest and very, very straight up cricketer. So I don't think he would argue at all that he needs to do some work. So there are 2 options.
Yeah.
Either that he or somebody around him that he's helped to improve. That's one option. Okay. The other option is that he focuses then on what he's also good at, which is his batting, and somebody else does the keeping. Now, who is that somebody else? Yes, Shane Dowrich is an option, but since I agree with Wayne that he has to earn his place, then is there anybody else who right now you could say already is equipped to do it? Let's say if you had a test match next week. And I think that's where the debate really needs to go, because I don't think that you could really sensibly argue that Dorich doesn't need to earn his split back. Of course, he needs to earn his split back. Everybody needs to earn.
But why should he? Listen,
Right?
is there
But
any
go
job?
on, Hardy. How do you present your case? And you're just going to repeat yourself. You present.
No, I'm not going to repeat myself. I am not going to repeat myself.
Right? And what I'm saying is that there's value in what both of you are saying. Okay? But Dorich is only one option. All right? But I would also throw in that discussion Sheho. And there may be other people that other viewers and others who will surely mention in the chat here they watch, who other people feel might be in the discussion as well.
Who also has had every chance to take a permanent place in the West Indies side and will now need to earn a playback in the West Indies team. I'm speaking about Shea Hope.
Oh, okay. How's he going to do that?
I'll tell you something, fellow. I'm glad you threw it there.
Hold on a bit there, Deighton. How is he going to do that? It goes back to what I said, okay? Dorich was in Barbados and in the Caribbean for the start of the season and had the opportunity to play 2 matches and 1 practice 11 game. Shea Hope didn't have that option. So therefore, it goes back to the problem again of how we set up our cricket to give our players the best chance to prepare themselves. You can't punish Hope because he was on a white ball tour.
Oh, Hope never got punished. How punished got he?
To say when that Hope has to
Hope got
to suggest that
Philip.
suggest that
Shea Hope get dropped out of the West Indies team.
Man, to suggest that Shea Hope, we are taking this discussion beyond where you want to take it. I am saying that because he was with the white ball team, he could not play for Barbados or any other franchise. And therefore, moving forward, as an entity called Cricket West Indies, organizing our cricket, we've got to make adjustments for things like that by having enough cricket. And it goes back to what I said an hour before. I would make. Hold on, man.
No.
Us back and forth over who should replace the silver. I'm looking at a structure that needs to be addressed that gives everybody a chance to be well prepared for what they're supposed to do.
No, I will make my final input on this issue. I will make my final input on this issue. There is no wicket keepers crisis in the West Indies team at this point in time. And that's the end of it as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, fair enough. All that may mean is that you're not as
yeah. There's a point I'd like to take ahead, which
party where that's concerned, but apologies, Deighton, because you wanted to jump in there 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. No. I'm you're talking about innovative thinking in terms of people like New Zealand, etc. One of the things I think we've done badly is this. Shea Hope, as Weholder quite rightly said, was dropped for non-performance. However, we've always seen Shea Hope as a batsman batting at 1, 2, 3, lowest 4. We have never considered Shea Hope as a batsman, as a wicketkeeper, batting at 6 or 7. Earlier we made the point about picking your best 6 batters as though there's no difference. I have to tell you, as a former opening batsman myself, there is a very distinct difference, and this is it. If you watch the West Indies team, in the first 25 or 30 overs with new ball, we always get wickets. We struggle to get wickets between overs 30 and 60, and the simple reason is a new ball is a little more difficult to negotiate than an older ball. And so when you're considering people batting in positions 1, 2, and 3, especially, but certainly sometimes at 4, you often find yourself facing a hard new ball with a proud seam, and the process of negotiating it is a little more difficult. And so we have people batting in those places and not making it. I mean, we never consider the option. I'm not suggesting we have to. I'm just saying we never consider the option of Shea Hope, who, by the way, is a very good technical wicketkeeper, batting at number 6 or 7. Similarly, we've never considered the idea of a person like Roston Chase playing as an off-spinner in Test cricket and batting at 7 or 8. We've always seen Roston Chase as a batsman batting between 1 and 5 who could bowl. I'm just saying, and I'm not advocating for a player for either one. I'm just saying it is time we do start thinking of options other than the ones in which we have pigeonholed people. I mean, some for the last 20 years. Yeah, because let's take Shane Dorich again. Shane Dorich, when he puts his mind to it, is a very good batsman, an excellent player of spin. And we've
always that fact was recognized when he made the West Indies team as a batsman. Continue.
But there's one point. We always see actually I hope in terms of his wicket keeping and playing and getting a player as a wicket keeper. But do we consider does he consider himself looking for playing the West Indies team as a batsman because he came back? We have Reefer, who has been outstanding at regional level for many years, and we always put him as a bowler who can bat a bit, and he struggles to make the West Indies team. He made a really good decision the other day to come in the Barbados team and bat high up in the order at number 3 and show that he's a batsman. We got to start looking at options in our cricket beyond the ones that we've sort of limited ourselves to in the past. And that's just the point I wanted to make. Not to suggest any particular person should or should not play, but we really got to start looking at our cricket a little differently.
But they can please send your invoice to me at the earliest opportunity. I will have to pay you as my communications consultant because you have explained what I've been trying to say much better than that. I accept that the fault is with me for not explaining it. It is not that I am asking you to pick Ross and Chase tomorrow or to put Brooks to open next week. I am saying that we can continue doing what we've been doing for the last 20 years while we've been struggling, or we can do like what New Zealand has done over the years and others, and try to be a little bit different and exercise other options.
I don't think that we give a lot of credit to a number of players, but as regards this third test match that the West Indies just won, I think we need to spend some time on the player of the match. I mean, what he did, what he has done, and what he did was a sterling effort given the crisis in which West Indies found themselves. Remember, we were 90 for 6.
Yes.
Remember when the 8th wicket fell, we were still in the 100 and how much were we?
It was 165 or something like that.
By the way, when Kyle Mears got out.
Yeah.
You know, so that innings by Josh De Silva now, and I'm not making this case about who is going to wicket keeper or not. I'm just saying that we need to give credit where it was due.
It really know you're not talking to me because you know full well that I almost got cussing bad words for defending Josh De Silva. So you're talking to me.
And I'm speaking specifically about one innings. It has nothing to do with
that
anything.
That talking about too, yeah?
It has nothing to do with anything that Josh De Silva has done before. I'm talking about that one innings. I think that we really need to put that up in lights and give it its due because it was a tremendous performance.
I think you can take it and put it in any coaching manual and show that to any youngster how to go there and fight, absorb.
That's exactly that. The man absorbed the pressure and took the game down and very, very well supported by the lower order, starting with Kyle Mears. You know, each of them played a part. It was Kyle Mears, it was Kemar Roach, it was Azari Joseph, right down to Jaden Seals. And I thought that what that said to me, what that said to me though, that pleased me because if you look at the personnel involved there, outside of Kemar Roach, you're talking about a set of newbies, basically. You're speaking about, and that augurs well
for the future
for West Indies going forward.
Some people will tell you, Wayne, that because someone does well, you should still be able to criticize them. That's obvious. Look, perfection is something that we elusive. None of us have achieved it. So clearly, no matter what you do, it can be done better. But it's a time and place. It's a time and place. A guy scores a match-winning century, goes on with the tail. You don't sit down to look at his fault. Come on, let's be real. You got to boost that guy. And in boosting that guy, he's going to feel good. And you know what that feel good is going to make him do? Work even harder to get more success.
We heard quite a lot about the of the English perspective. But Deighton Hartley in particular, as the guest, England did suffer some setbacks. How important would you have seen the fact that Ollie Robinson did not play a match? I mean, we're only talking about a reputation here. There's nobody that can say that Ollie Robertson would have taken to the West Indies wickets, or that he would have been a handful to face it to. We know Detroit, and we know who Mark Wood is. He has been here in the Caribbean before. He has caused this problem. He won that test match. Well, he was part of the winning team when England won one of the three tests back in 2019. But these were two key people out of this side. What effect? How important do you see or their
But
absence from the England lineup?
let me start this way. I mean, the first setback that England suffered was self-inflicted.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, but not. Let me tell you where I'm going, because I'm not going quite where everybody else is going. I believe they should have brought Broad to the West Indies. Not both of them, only Broad. The record suggests that Broad is best suited for these conditions. He would have given the English that much needed experience that you could see they lacked on those days when Craig Brathwaite blunted them. And I say that very seriously. It made a difference in the series. You need someone like a Chris Broad who's always finding different ways to approach things, who always giving us a shot to say, let's try this approach. So I think that was the first thing. Now, yes, they were very much disadvantaged by the loss of Broad. But having said that, Wood has a history of breaking down. We know that. Mm-hmm. And in the Caribbean, on these very hard surfaces, a fast bowler can easily go wrong. Ollie Robinson.
Although in this particular case, if I mistake you, it wasn't any. It was his elbow that gave out.
Yes,
which may be another problem. Which may be the result of something else.
That's not. I don't want to say you off stuff. But yes, England were disadvantaged by these losses. I have to say that. But that is the nature of cricket. Is the nature of every sport. You will have those times when you are missing key people. We've experienced it ourselves. It happens to us all the time. And you have to be able to bounce back from that. Now, a good team has to be able to take full advantage of it when they find themselves in that position. And I think the West Indies did that. I think they should be given credit for that.
Hartley, I'm not going to say you were down that same line, Hartley. I've got another question for you. Alzarri Joseph has been the butt of plenty criticism among West Indian fans and West Indies pundits. Did he, in fact, redeem himself in any way in this third test, Alzarri Joseph Hartley?
No. Alzarri Joseph is still, as we like to say in cricket, is still a work in progress. He has now taken 50 wickets, 55-0, having played a horse at test matches. Alzarri Joseph is quick, but he is not effective. Alzarri Joseph is too moody, and no one knows which Alzarri Joseph is coming to the game. So Alzarri Joseph is an enigma, if to use your word, Wayne. But he is not an enigma that I want around me, because his body language does not say much to generate any confidence. And when he bowls and he's bowling what he's bowling, but nobody can't support him because he does nothing else except bat. His batting has improved tremendously. So what are we going to do? He put it open then, because he sure can bowl. He is not bowling. He is not bowling effectively. So no, he is not MIT at all.
Okay, guys. So as we wrap then, and Vin likes to get the last word, so I'm going to hand back to you, Hartley, and keep going for last. As we wrap, let's look at one encouraging thing that has come out of this series that we can build on, and one thing that is problematic that we need to address as soon as possible. And I mean, some of this we would have touched on already, so this is virtually a summary for those who may have joined us later, or for those who may then have to sit through all that reset. So it's virtually a summary of what we've talked about in a sense, but we just put it in a capsule so that it has meaning. So Hartley, highlight your one thing that has worked well and we can build on, and the one thing that you feel needs to be worked on.
The good part of it is that we are batting balls. We have now decided that we are playing test cricket and not limited overs cricket, so we are batting balls. So that is an excellent thing. That's a platform where we can go forward to compete in test cricket.
Okay.
Wicketkeeper. We want a wicketkeeper.
All right, that was predictable. Deighton, your turn.
I think the Craig Brathwaite and Bonner tendency towards digging in their heels and fighting is rubbing off. It was good to see, as Wayne pointed out, not only did it rub off on Blackwood, which was a pleasant surprise, but all the way down the order, down to number 11. I think if we could get more of that happening higher up in the order, West Indies is on the path to much better things.
But I even want to go before me. And we're on the road of. I'm actually gonna identify one thing that fits into both. Here it is. Jason Holder was promoted to bat at number 6, and there've been numerous falls to that over the years. He did not set the world on fire, but I believe most people forgot that he played an important role in helping us to save the first Test match. So he didn't get runs, or too many runs after that. But here again, who got runs? Campbell didn't get a lot of runs, neither did Brooks, so he's not the only one who didn't get a lot of runs. But what I like about it is that someone had the courage to try. So that's a positive for me. All right? And that's where it comes in now to the things that we need to improve on, because I believe that we need to improve on the mentality of putting people in pigeonholes and boxes. So the older thing serves more purposes. It is good for me that he got the opportunity to bat higher to see what would happen, so you don't have to wonder. We know that he can bat there, but he just hasn't been consistent at it yet. But there's the option also to move him back. You've got options, but you've tried it. That's the important thing. And now to build on, what we need to build on now is to apply that throughout our cricket and stop pigeonholing people and look to see. In other words, don't just see what a guy is today. We need not only the selection, not only for West Indies, as a culture in the region. We need to be able to look at people and try to see what they can become.
Well said.
Okay. Well, as far as I'm concerned, we still have a crisis at the top of the order. Those positions after Craig Brathwaite, 2 and 3, still need a long-term solution. Let's put it that way. We're still on the lookout for a long-term solution in that area, and that is a weakness that is going to come back to that will come back to haunt us, Hartley, to use your word, when the conditions are a lot more helpful to the bowlers. You know, the West Indies team, I thought, did excellently. They took advantage of the good batting conditions, and the captain led by example. And I would have to mimic some of what Deighton said, and it seemed to have had an effect throughout the team, throughout the dressing room. When you saw the approach of most of the batsmen, most of the players, I mean, it went right down to number 11. I was happy that our bowling stood up to the test, even on the 2 bland strips at Kensington and Antigua. And once they got the opportunity to get some assistance, they found a pitch with some assistance. They hit, and they hit hard, and decisively. So I'm happy for that. That basically what I'm saying in one nutshell, the West Indies as a team, utilized and adapted to the conditions well. And I'm happy about that.
I'm happy with the way you've expressed that as well. Very clear indeed. I believe we all can understand that. So thanks to you, Wayne. But special thanks. I'm not giving any special thanks to your co-host, but special thanks to Deighton Smith and Hartley Reid, two experienced cricketers, two experienced cricket administrators, two developing or I don't know to say developing or well-developed analysts. So thanks to them. And Wayne, I know you got to get into that. Go ahead.
Yeah, quickly. Yes, because I don't expect any special thanks here on the program. I expect special thanks when it comes to payday.
I think I need to get out of here before this conversation embarrasses me anymore. So thanks to you, gentlemen, including Wayne Holder, and thanks to our viewers for joining us and being a part of our show. We invite you to join us again on another occasion quite soon, for yet another episode of Anything Cricket. That's all.